will call this meeting to order at 7:03. I'm just not confident that I'm seeing everybody who's on the Zoom. Yes, it said 6 participants.
Fran Collard and Aaron Gilbert are also both on there, and I'm not seeing them up there.
It's just the way that the view is.
Usually you can shift it like
Yeah, there's a way to
Show.
He has it on gallery view, but I don't know if they're all, let's see, 7 participants. Show the non-videos, yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay, thank you. Okay, welcome everybody. Granada Community Services District meeting.
Yes, cheers.
Yes.
No Director Reed?
I don't see Director.
she just came in. Here she comes. All right.
Then I'll give it one more second. Just calling the meeting to order. Can we have a roll call?
Oh, sorry. You're taking out for a second.
Director Grant,
Here.
Director Dye,
Here.
Director Clark,
Present.
Director Randall,
Here.
Director Marsh.
Here. And we have,
And I'm Chuck Duffy, the General Manager, and we have Hope Atmore, the Assistant General Manager, and Antoinette Granite is our legal counsel.
okay, welcome everybody. First order of business is general public participation. Members of the public may comment on matters under the jurisdiction of the district that are not on tonight's agenda. Comments limited to 3 minutes. Would anybody like to make a comment? If you need to come on up to the podium and the mic, please. Welcome. I told him we haven't seen a human in here in many months.
I don't care for Zoom. Tom Carey, and the reason I'm here is that own a piece of property on 5th and Crossways, 5,000 square foot parcel. Person next to me has a 25 by 100. Want to see if I want to put it up for sale with them? I said, sure, no problem. I put together about 100 parcels in the last 45 years of doing this. And I said, let's look to the one on the right, and right is a 25 by 100 foot parcel, and it's owned by Granada Sanitary, to my surprise.
Oh,
So the reason I'm here is if you would like to join with us, because we're going to, instead of us coming back here or some other buyer with a 7,500 square foot parcel, you can put up, when we put it for sale, it'll be a 10,000 square foot parcel, legal size lot. And this is something I know I've talked to you or seen you always wanted these legal parcels and put them together. And that's the reason I'm here before we put it up for sale. And I thought you'd give you a crack at it, make some money. I'm not building it. We're selling. Split it as per, square foot. And that's just the reason I'm here. Also on the other side, they want to sell theirs. There's a 5,000 square foot site. You want to go 75. I really don't care. I just want to sell the pieces.
Can you tell us exactly where this lot is? Is this the weird one we have a half interest in?
No, that's the Marilyn Thompson one.
Right.
That's a different one.
Where is
This is one of those that we foreclosed on through the assessment district process.
And where is it?
It's on this and
Crossways. Sir, can you go off?
Can you see it on that map?
can I hand these out? Okay, I can hand these out.
Yeah, I made a map of the properties.
Oh, that's
And are there water rights anywhere on any of these parcels?
Only on mine. I will be transferring mine off though because of the 10,000 square foot piece. And people like that, you get priority water and sewer.
right.
It would go to sale.
Yeah, so we can't discuss this because it's not on the agenda, but we can do, if your board expresses interest, we can bring it back as an agenda item at our next meeting.
Okay.
See those parcels, if you look at them, it would go into, instead of 3, it'd be 1.
Mhm.
And this is something that I've heard for over the last 20 years. There was more complaining about these 44 small pieces. So I just thought I'd bring it to your attention.
Great.
And if you don't want to do it, that's fine with me too. Because we're going to put it up for sale probably the first quarter of next year.
Got it.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
good to know. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
And thanks for the good map.
I think we should be interested.
Yes, agreed.
That can
Well,
be
it's not doing anything for us now, so.
yeah.
Right, so
I know we can't discuss, but it would be useful for staff maybe to note that for a future agenda item.
Yeah. So that's closed session, 2 items.
Okay. Any other comments from members of the public? Seeing none, we'll move to item number 1.
Okay, and this is the second reading of the approval of the ordinance 177, an ordinance regarding compensation of directors of the Granada Community Services District, second reading. I've just read the title of the ordinance.
Did you just read the title?
Yes.
Okay, can we have a,
So you got to follow the 5 steps
The 5 steps.
outlined on the,
and we have a motion to waive the second reading?
I'll so move.
I have a question.
yeah.
Go ahead.
When-
I'm sorry, Director Grant.
When does the board get to comment? I don't see it on here.
Yeah, it's not specified, Jill, but you can comment just like any other item. So you can comment anytime you'd like.
Okay, just let me know when you want me to comment and I'll chime in.
Okay, why don't I, well, before we waive the second reading, why don't you go ahead now?
Okay. So I'd actually like to hear it read, but if you're not going to read it, why don't we see if you're going to read it or not first, and then I'll
Okay.
comment.
Okay, motion to waive the second reading of the ordinance. I heard a motion from Matthew.
Yeah.
I hear a second from Director Dye.
I reviewed it in the packet.
Roll call?
So did I.
Director Grant,
I'm sorry, what are we voting on right now?
Whether to waive the second reading.
No.
Director Dye,
Yes.
Director Clark,
Aye.
Director Randall,
Yes.
President Marsh.
Okay. Can I ask, this has been published in the paper, right?
It has.
Okay, so it has been public.
Can I ask what paper it was published in?
It was published in the Half Moon Bay Review on November 1st and November 8th.
And also posted on our website as part of
Do we
the
have published in free papers? Like the San Mateo Journal, free and all over the coast?
We have not. Per the ordinance code, we're required to publish in a newspaper of general circulation, and the Half Moon Bay Review meets that criteria.
Okay. Mhm. Okay, you ready for my comments?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, section 1 reads that basically every member of the board of directors is going to receive a raise. So it's going to bump up what we get paid per meeting to $190. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then it goes into particulars. So it says attendance at a meeting of the board and for each day of service rendered as a director, not exceeding a total of 6 days in any calendar month. And so with 190, the maximum amount any director could get would be $1,140 a month. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, which is kind of like a part-time job to me. So that's fine. Maybe that'll even inspire people to run next year because, I mean, if you can make a little money, especially if you're retired and you're interested, it might have some people, interested in running. And that's good.
Finish your concept. All right.
I'm sorry, Barbara, I didn't hear you.
No, it's okay. Go ahead, finish.
I asked her to let you finish your comments.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm recovering from the flu, so my voice is barely hanging on. So
Right now.
then it goes to,
Not doing anything.
it talks about attendance at a meeting, and then it goes through all the meetings. So number 1's the meeting that we attend every month, and that's fine. And number 2 is, it says representation at a public event, provided that the board of directors previously approved the member's representation. that sounds good. I'm curious what past examples we have of this, of directors that have attended public events. Do you have any?
A director goes to the Community Services District and Association meeting for a day, that would be a day of service. I mean, in
Okay.
terms of past practice, those of us who have been to project team meetings and so on, we actually are eligible for it because that's a day of service, but we haven't sought payment for those.
Would that also,
Help out with the kids' crafts at the open house on Saturday, and I don't expect to get reimbursed for it. It's only when I'm doing official business.
Like a training, like.
so if you go to the public events that are on our property, we just had one, with music and stuff. If you attend that, that's not covered, correct?
No,
I'm just trying to be clear.
Yeah.
The third one is a public meeting or public hearing conducted by another public agency, provided the board of directors is previously approved. And I think that's referring to SAM. Is that correct?
That would refer to Sam, yes.
Yeah.
Are there any others that we,
I can't think of one off the top of my head, like Nancy was talking about the CSDA representation. That might be one that would fall under 2 or 3.
okay,
and the SAM, because SAM reimburses, it's not, we don't reimburse, we would only reimburse if SAM paid less than our amount.
okay.
And that was the practice.
Yeah, and this proposed amount could have been set higher based on the rules for that, but I believe you said it, I wasn't at that meeting in August, at the current SAM reimbursement, so they're
Right,
equivalent.
Sam just went up from 100 to 190, and the Sam board member used to get the other $45
From GCSD.
from GCSD, right?
I think if you went to, for example, the California Special Districts Association conference representing GCSD.
Yeah, I
You
said
would
that,
get-
I gave that
yeah.
example.
That was approved by the board
Right.
prior to.
And there's a couple other conferences where people go to improve their understanding of general public policy and regulations and new ideas and so forth, where if you go and give up a day to go to a conference, you get reimbursed.
That would be covered under number 5.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Number 5 is the training program previously approved, yeah. And then number 4 is meeting of public benefit nonprofit corporation on whose board the district has membership. So that refers to,
I don't believe we have any memberships on a nonprofit board as a district member.
Again, you could fit the CSDA meeting somewhere in these. But that's probably the only thing I can think of. We get reimbursed for SAM by SAM, so I can't think of anything else.
okay. Thank you for the clarification. Now I want to go back up to section 1. Section 1 is, it says attendance at a meeting of the board or each appointed committee meeting. Can you give me past examples of appointed committee meetings of this year?
We had a parks committee and we had a rec center committee. As I noted, we could have had those committee meetings as a day of service, but we typically did not. In fact, I know we did not seek reimbursement for those. That we no longer have those official committees. We used to have sort of dormant right now, the Parks Advisory Committee that a board member might attend as a representative from the board. That would be eligible, but again, the practice was that we didn't really seek reimbursement for anything other than these meetings and SAM meetings.
Right, correct.
For SAM, it reimburses us for, I'm on the finance committee and Matthew's on the board ops committee, which are agendized public meetings that we attend as official representatives. And we do get reimbursed by SAM, but that's the kind of thing But I think it's after, but we don't have any because we're small and don't need them.
What about the two committees that we have? One is for the parks, and one is for the, I'm sorry, I'm having problems thinking clearly.
There was one for the rec center as well,
Yeah, so
but we retired those two when Ray came on as project manager.
And I think you just said no one has ever been reimbursed for those meetings.
I didn't know I could even be reimbursed for those meetings, so no, we didn't. The days that I spent visiting daycare centers, no, we didn't get reimbursed for that.
okay, so right now we don't have any committees.
Correct.
Okay. I think it would be good to add to that each appointed committee meeting, to add what all the others have, the same standard wording that says, provided that the board of directors has previously approved the board member's representation at a board of directors meeting, and that the member delivers a written report to the board of directors. I just think that would be really good to have. If you're getting reimbursed for it, I'd like to see a written report in our minutes. Is that too much to ask?
Well, if we change the ordinance now, we'd have to reintroduce it and do 2 readings and re-advertise it because it's a new ordinance and you're not allowed to change the wording from the first reading your board did 2 months ago till now.
So we'd have to republish it in the paper.
We'd have to reintroduce it, do the first reading, republish it twice, all that stuff, to change it.
How long would
Director Grant, are you asking that this be authorized by the board for every committee meeting?
Yes.
Including all standing committees?
correct?
Well, it's all, by definition, I'll pick Sam because it's an easy definition. The board appoints the SAM representatives to SAM, so that is board approval of that. The board appoints CSDA representative, so that is board approval. And I can't think of any other committees that we're on that have anything.
We also have, excuse me, sorry. We also have as a regular agenda item, committee reports. Sorry. So typically there haven't been committee reports, but we do have a regular standing agenda item for committee reports. So I actually agree sort of with the principle that you've outlined, that if somebody does something that the district gets paid for, there should be some playback and feedback to the district, but without revising the ordinance. I have the same brain problem. I think we cover it in our standing committees, committee reports as a standing agenda item.
Which in some ways is more valuable because you make your report, people can ask you questions. It's, you know, it's a way to convey what has happened. Don't we have LAFCO as well? Don't we have a LAFCO representative?
No, we don't.
Well,
No?
yeah, have any of you gone? I don't think so. Yeah.
Didn't we appoint someone?
No. There's a LAFCO, there are two LAFCO representatives for special districts.
Yeah, we've had 3 years of COVID. We've only been back in person for 7 or 8 months. So I don't know what's happened to those meetings.
What would it take to revise it? You say you'd have to put it in the paper twice. So is that 2 weeks?
We'd have to reintroduce the ordinance, the first reading of it at our, say, December meeting. Then Hope would have to put it in the paper twice, which obviously costs money. And then we would have to do a second reading like we're doing now. So basically start the process all over.
And what does it cost to put it in the paper?
I don't remember the exact amount. I want to say it was about $480, somewhere in that upper 400 range for two publications.
How big is it? How big is the?
It takes, because it was a notice at the hearing of the public hearing. It's not the actual ordinance itself that gets published. It's a hearing about it. But yeah, it was considered 3 columns across. I mean, it's sort of a standard thing when you go online and you set it up. It lays it out the way it's going to lay it out.
You might want to consider the San Mateo Journal. They're much cheaper, and everybody reads it because it's free.
Is it safe to say if principally what you're wanting is a safeguard to ensure that that there is sort of someone is selected to receive this additional compensation or approved to receive this additional compensation. And then there's some accountability for that additional compensation because you have to give a report out that while it's not in the ordinance as explicitly as you're asking, there are safeguards that exist by definition, because if you're selected by this committee to be, or sorry, by this board to be a committee member, that is inherently implying that you're going to a meeting to represent this
Yes.
board at that meeting. So that's approval. And then we have in our agenda slots where we put report outs on it. So we effectively achieve what you're looking for by the procedures that we have as a board.
We also have the warrants, which show the payments every month. So the payments are transparent and in the agenda pack every month.
But I don't see any written record of committee meetings.
There, other than the SAM
SAM
committees,
meeting every
which are in the SAM reports, we don't have any right now.
Right. But there's a spot on our agenda for committee meetings.
And always for SAM. And when we did have a park and a rec committee, even though we weren't asking for compensation for those, we did include them in the parks report as a standing.
Yeah, they have their own line item, report from the PAC committee.
Okay. I'm uncomfortable with it because it sounds, everything looks good except that one appointed committee meeting. It sounds like, well, if you're appointed to a committee, you can go meet 4 times with somebody out in the field and charge for 4 times. And there'd be no way to stop that because you're already approved by being appointed to the committee.
If your committee meets 4 times.
Sorry?
If the committee meets 4 times, but not simply if you as a committee member go do something independent of the committee.
Sure, but you could just call up the other person on your committee and say, hey, director, meet me over at the Burnham Strip and let's talk for 10 minutes and then bill $190. It just seems a little fishy to me. And I'm always the one who's, the devil's advocate in these things. I don't mean to offend, but I'm just trying to represent the public. And most of the public did not see this in the Half Moon Bay review.
And you can't do that without, you can't just call committee meetings on your own. They're public meetings. They have to be noticed.
Yeah.
So they have to be, the whole board has to know that there's going to be 4 meetings if that's what you wanted to do. So.
Yeah, they're public noticed. We see it in the warrants and we have it on our standing agenda. So I'm comfortable that we have transparency, particularly for the payments because they're on the list of warrants.
To Matthew's point, when we had PAC committee meetings, we noticed them as if it was a board meeting. There's an agenda, it's posted, it's published on the website.
So for example, in the committee reports, number 12, it literally says report on seminars, conferences, or committee meetings. So if you posted that you were going to meet 4 times, you'd have to publicly notify everyone that that was happening. And then you'd have to report out on it, each of those 4 meetings in this agenda, in our agenda. Correct. Okay.
Any further comment, Jill?
Well, I do want to say that I came from the Mid-Coast Community Council. So I think that's why I'm a little slanted because the work involved to be on the MCC is like tenfold to what we do and they get paid nothing.
I agree with you.
They're just all doing it because they're do-gooders really. And working with the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors and all these big guns, you'd think they get paid something, but they don't. And so it kind of makes me feel uncomfortable. Even being paid to attend these meetings makes me uncomfortable. That's just my bad. So sorry about that.
I didn't even know we got paid until I started.
Most people don't know they get paid until after they're elected. But I agree that MCC does a tremendous amount of work and service and is greatly undervalued, and their time should be valued. Because now they have a hard time even getting people to run for MCC. And as you noted, although most people don't understand the compensation or there is even compensation, if it's something they care about, it may get more people to run.
It's still pretty minimal. And I have to say, there are lots of, I print stuff all the time. And there is a lot of time.
Yeah.
Do,
And if
Do
the system got abused, your board could simply remove people from committees or end the committee or pass the new ordinance, kind of outlining what Jill says.
do the other boards have the same ordinance in place, like Montero and stuff?
SAM does, MWSD does. I believe the Half Bay City Council members get paid about $600 a month.
Harbor Commission has it.
Harbor Commission also has it. So actually MCC is the outlier.
Yeah.
And with the type of work they do, they probably should have some sort of at least meeting prep compensation.
And I have supported that, actually. I think they should have more funding.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for listening.
Okay. I'm going to,
I have a couple of questions and
Go ahead.
comments. Does this formal new ordinance mean that SAM reps get paid by SAM and by GCSD?
We haven't historically. You could probably read that. You could read that each day.
There's a halfway precedent because GCSD has always bumped up what was $100 to $145 at our meetings.
Right.
Got. So where are we?
yeah, GCSD paid the difference between your day of service for GCSD and what SAM already paid you.
Right.
So now SAM is at 190. So if we go to 190, there won't be any difference.
Right. So does that mean that the same reps get both 190s or not?
I think she's saying it's been a difference.
And the practice has been, we only paid the difference.
Yeah, the question is,
I haven't looked at the resolution with that question in mind.
Well, yeah, I read through this several times and it's not clear to me. It sounds like you could read it either way.
Legally,
yes.
do you get paid twice? I mean, looking at the words.
That's my question.
Right. And we historically, you're correct. We historically haven't, but when I hear your comments and I read through it, I have the same thing. Yeah, you can read that both ways. Antoinette, do you have any? I hate to put you on the spot here, but
No worries. I mean, I don't think that was the intention here, especially if historically it wasn't done that way. So even though there's two ways to read it, there's also other things to take into consideration. And the history of how things have been done is definitely a really big part of interpreting that part of the ordinance. So I would lean towards no, not double dipping in a way that is different than how it used to be. But I mean, that's my take on it.
And part of when you pass an ordinance like this, it's kind of funny because this was Hope's first ordinance and I told her how to do the ordinance process and it's completely different for this compensation ordinance because they are looking for transparency and that's why it's a public hearing. Most ordinances don't require a public hearing. This one does, and you have to publish it twice because a lot of this came about with y'all remember the city of Bell. They would have 25 meetings a month and they pad their pockets. And so that's why they limit this to 6 meetings and things like that. So.
Government would be so much better if there weren't any crooks out there. I actually think there's a logic to splitting the cost of SAM meetings because we're partly working for SAM and partly for.
Well, but at the end of the day, we're funding SAM. So
yeah, you're right.
6 of one, half the other. Right.
However it works, it's fine with me. I don't think we're abusing
Sure.
or going to abuse it.
And like I said, if this becomes an issue where people start abusing it, your board can look at it and we can do another ordinance that really clamps down on it. Some of this is legacy language as well from literally 15 or 20 years ago. So.
Is this the requirements of this language, whether it's community service district law or sanitary district law? Or
This is
water?
CSD law, yes.
Special
Well, I'll throw that one to Antoinette too. I won't play amateur lawyer. But I believe this is CSD law because we went through it, like I said. So the entire process I pointed out to Hope was incorrect.
I see Antoinette nodding.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
yeah. I agree with Chuck. I believe he's right. It is CSD law.
Okay, and I don't want to restart this, but I wish I had mentioned this at the first reading. We've been doing the SAM reports verbal. It turns into so much more work if you have to write out everything that you should say. In fact, you might want to get double dipped.
Well, but you could interpret this as what we include in the board packet. This
The
board
minutes.
packet is a written
minutes is a
report of
written.
what happened at the SAM meeting. So this board sees
I mean, by printing the minutes, so.
by printing the minutes, by printing the agenda, by printing the operations report, the flow report from SAM. That is your report. You're just adding to it.
So in your opinion, that the verbal part is just add on and.
Yes,
Okay,
because
good.
that report to some extent would speak for itself. It doesn't have every nuance that you all can add as to what happened and things like that. Yeah.
Okay,
I don't know if that is correct.
Can we go to public comment and then come back for further board comment?
sure.
So let me open a public hearing. Any members of the public who would like to comment on this ordinance? Seeing none, going to close the public hearing. Between Jill's, Director Grant's comment about the member delivering a report to the board of directors, which to Matthew's point, I think could be written or verbal at the next directors meeting. And the notation that there isn't something in there that says if you're compensated by the other public agency, your total compensation won't be more than what GCSD would pay you for a day of service. I'm sort of persuaded to making those two changes and going through the cycle again. I don't think it's so urgent, but as long as we are updating it, I think we could include both of those things. And
Tell me again what the two things are.
the two things were that in section 1, there was one of them, and Director Grant can correct me, that doesn't include
Each appointed committee meeting.
Yeah, the committee is the second to last sentence,
Okay.
or the third to last sentence, the amount of compensation for attendance.
at each meeting of the board or each appointed committee meeting, and for each day of service, by prior request, the board shall be $190. And what she asked to add was provided that the member delivers, I'm just going to say a report rather than written report, to the board of directors regarding the member's representation at the next board of directors meeting following the public event. And to clarify Director Clark's question, I would add somewhere, wherever it's appropriate, that the representation, the compensation to our representative on another public agency board should not, the total compensation for a day of service should not exceed what GCSD would reimburse for that day of service. So if Sam has paid you $190, GCSD wouldn't pay you. But I do think for the sake of a couple of months and not having to do this again for a long time, we could make those two changes, and I will open that back up for board comment.
I endorse Director Marcy's idea.
Would you like me to go further with your idea? We can, okay,
Yes.
sorry, go ahead.
Let me, I see Director Grant's hand up.
Yes. So when I've been on other boards, delivering a written report, they actually would just provide a little summary so that it could be included in the minutes. So like kill two birds with one stone. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. You just want to provide a written report, could be a paragraph. And then you talk about it at the meeting, but that's your written report and it goes in the minutes. It doesn't have to be a huge thing.
Well, if we capture the verbal report in the minutes, does that count as a written report versus them submitting something in writing?
Well, it's having Hope interpret what they want to say. So it's better to have whoever is attending this to write it and then give it to Hope.
Some of the SAM ones are pretty lengthy.
Oh, yes.
But I think we're agreeing that the minutes of the SAM meeting serve as a written report.
Correct.
It's highlighting things
There's
from
two
the
written representations.
You're right.
To the SAM meeting, and as you just said, Nancy, when you all report at
Right.
our next meeting,
It's
Hope
in
and I
our-
write down, hey, here's what Barbara and Matthew said.
But we do have the SAM minutes as well.
Right.
And then you're just commenting on the
Our
SAM
minutes,
minutes.
yeah.
And if someone goes to another meeting, I don't have any problem with writing a paragraph.
Yeah,
I
that's what
actually did go to a special districts association meeting. I think some of those are valuable, and I don't see any reason why we couldn't do a written report, but
In the agenda memo.
I think
Did you get paid for it?
I don't think I did.
Because that was going to be my further thing. If we're going to go in this direction where no one's getting
But you
paid,
the GCSD paid my entry fee.
yeah, that's expenses and reimbursement. That's a
Yeah.
separate category. This is board service. If you want to go that direction, I'd suggest you just say board members get paid for these meetings. And that's it. If you want to go that direction. But you're not going to get paid with SAM. No one's put in a chit for CSDA meetings, which don't happen a lot, and other things.
And the,
I have to say that I think there's a value. I know some other people have gone to some of these meetings, and I do think it is helpful sometimes to go to a meeting of one of the groups that is like the umbrella group for what you're doing. And so and when you do that, even if the district pays your admission fee, there's still a lot of expenses involved. So I'd hate to just sort of
Well, it's your
preclude
time.
something
Yeah.
like that. Well, and like I stayed with friends and I drove my car to all the meetings, which was,
Right, no, and
each
this is
way,
a
and-
board policy decision. I was trying to streamline
Yeah.
it, certainly. And again, your expenses, if you stayed at a hotel, rented a car and all that, they're all covered. It's a separate section of the.
it's just the compensation for your
It's
time.
just compensation.
I wouldn't go that far because I can't predict the
Right,
future.
okay.
I know. And I just,
So we'll streamline this and kind of incorporate your comments and
There may be some other standing committees like PAC and the rec center committees that those consumed a lot of your time, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
I think I didn't understand the policy when I did them.
And I think those should be compensated. I mean,
yeah, so we'll
at what other level of government do you get free government work?
I've actually become amazed at how much free work the government gets. Which is
And I just
true.
want to clarify, so if there is a written report, is that something that would be provided to me prior to the packet going out? Because it would
Yes.
need to be included in the packet. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
you'd need something, you'd have to ask for something for the agenda memo.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, so do we need a motion?
we're just going to bring it back.
Let's just bring it
I'll
back.
just bring it back. It sounds like it's consensus of the board to make these amendments based on the comments, and we'll bring it back at the next meeting.
And then are we also going to be putting it in a free paper?
Pardon?
Are we going to also be putting it in a free paper?
I'm happy to look into that and see. I mean, I don't know that. The cost is irrelevant really as far as what it's going to cost to publish it in that, but I can look into the Sanitary Journal.
I've never seen
The daily, is that the one you were saying?
It will cost money to advertise there.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
But I don't think people who read the journal look at
The journal's at every post office.
I know, but
Every-
I've never picked it up.
who said that and stuff in the back anyway? I always think whenever I check.
And by the way, there's legal requirements as well.
Oh, if you
They have to
use it.
be designated as a, I don't know, an official.
I'm sure both are.
That's what I was going to ask. There's a definition of it.
Yeah. But we'll research it, and if, it's crazy expensive, we'll get back to you all, but if it's not, we can publish it in both.
It'll be-
the Half Moon Bay Review and the Journal. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money.
And the fact that the review, which is widely circulated, no one has commented, right, based on that.
No.
So spending another $500 of our taxpayers' money on an extra ad, I'm not sure that that's a good use of taxpayer funds. But if that's important to you, I'm happy to do it.
No one comments because they don't read the Half Moon Bay paper. Yes, you gotta be for it.
The government has it in back.
I've never read the San Mateo Journal, but I do read every Half Moon Bay Review, so I think it varies.
I've been reading the Journal for over 10 years, and the reason why I read it is because San Mateo County uses it for public hearings, and the Planning Commission uses it. So that's where I go to see what's going on.
Fair enough.
All right, we'll spend the extra money.
We will bring that back for December. Good discussion.
Okay, is it possible to have you restate what you're going to alter in this ordinance so we can be clear on that for the next round?
Get it there. We'll probably be re-listening to the meeting, quite honestly, to get it all down. But Nancy gave a good summation of that, so we'll incorporate that, and we'll incorporate your comments as well.
Okay. I just don't want to have to go back again next meeting,
Nor do we. So that's why it's nice having these videotapes. We can go back, and we do it when we do the minutes as well. So
Great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good discussion. We'll move on to item number 2, Parks and Recreation Activities. And I see we have Ray Zavi, our Granada Community Park and Recreation Center Project Manager. I always forget to introduce you, Ray, so I try to do that. If you want to give us an update on what's going on.
Sure. Good evening, board members, Madam President. Just a quick update on where we are and some of the activities we've been talking about. Just refreshing your memory, last time I looked at the visual renderings that I thought it was pretty impressive, prepared by our landscape architect, Kikuchi Associates. You looked at different views of the park and the rec center, and I was very happy that those were ready for you to take a look at and get a visual, as well as being a basis for our grant applications, which is extremely helpful for those. We also had our grant expert, Alex Gibb from Townsend in Sacramento, give a little presentation. And I'm happy to report that they're under contract now. And we already had a meeting with them. And we looked at different types of grants that we possibly could apply for, anything from state parks grants, land and water conservation, habitat conservation, recreational trails, regional grants, as well as state and federal earmarks. We are proceeding with the CEQA documents. The studies are underway. Biological study has been completed. And as I reported, we haven't found anything particular that would be requiring any additional effort. Nothing specific to deal with. It was pretty straightforward, and we were happy that results were positive. Cultural study is in progress. We should have that report hopefully by December. Noise study, we're just starting the noise study. They just executed the contract with a sub-consultant to start the background noise and superimpose the additional noise that we might encounter during the operation of both the rec center and the park. One thing that we are trying to deal with is in these grant applications, if we get a state grant, of course, CEQA is a requirement for that. I have a clearance for the ISMAD that we're preparing. However, for the federal grant, the question came up as to the requirements for NEPA clearance as opposed to CEQA. And that is actually a requirement if you apply for the federal grant. However, based on our investigations for the NEPA, we need to have a federal agency be the oversight or the sponsor, be the one in charge of the NEPA process. The only other agency besides a federal agency that's allowed to do that is Caltrans. And since this is not a Caltrans project, they cannot be the oversight agency. So we're looking at who we can have as the oversight agency in case of a grant being through the federal agencies. So that's an upcoming item that we're going to be discussing at our next meeting with Townsend. But we are moving forward. We are having a meeting set up with them for hopefully next week, either before or right after Thanksgiving. And at the next meeting, we'll report back to you as to which grants we're going to go for. There are several grants that are coming up pretty soon. So Hope and myself and Alex Gibbs will meet, including consultants, other consultants, to see exactly which grants we qualify for. And then we can move forward with that. And that will be in parallel with the CEQA studies that we're trying to complete. That pretty much sums up. If any questions, I'll be happy to discuss any of the items further.
Go ahead, Matthew.
Ray, first on the cultural report, who's doing that?
Montrose Horizon is our consultant, and they have sub-consultants that are doing the investigation. They were out here at least twice looking at the site and looking at both the background, the historical, as well as any current information to see what cultural facilities may be encountered as far as the history of the site and who might be involved, which agencies should be involved, etc. So if you'd like more information on that, I can certainly get that for you.
I asked that because last month's report was the cultural was almost done, and this month's report is the cultural is almost done.
Correct.
And, as you know, if you remember us working together in South San Francisco, that was what I did for decades. And this thing is a slam dunk. I mean, I don't know what we're waiting for.
That's a good concern. That is correct. My understanding was also that it's in progress. I know that they're going through some reviews, internal reviews in Montrose Horizon, but I'm hoping that within the next couple of weeks we should have that in hand. So I will push with the consultant, Montrose Horizon, to see what the holdup is, because I expected it by this meeting as well. You're correct.
Yeah. And my other comment is, if you are going to have to choose an agency to oversee NEPA, be very careful. I'm sure you know that, but as you said, there's no obvious one, but some are better to deal with, and some are only based in Washington, and that's never easy.
Correct. Yes, you are correct. We have to kind of look at which grant we're going to go after. And normally the agency that administers the grant would be the one that would be overseeing NEPA. So it could be Department of Interior. It could be Fish and Wildlife. We have to figure that out before we go forward with that. But at this time, our focus is mostly CEQA at the moment.
Good.
Anything else?
No.
Director Grant?
I have no comments. Matthew addressed them. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board? Go ahead.
Just a comment, which is, I would like to see us set a target where we're going to be ready to submit to the county that we could be working toward. It's my understanding that maybe February. After we got wonderful renderings, I stood up in front of the post office for a couple hours with the renderings and a sign and asked people that wanted to see it. People were really positive. They were really happy, but you know what they all wanted to know? When is this going to happen? So I understand that it's complicated. I'm not saying an unrealistic deadline, but it would be really great to have at least some idea of when we will have all of this documentation done and ready to submit. I think it would be good for the community. And I think it would actually maybe speed the process up a little. So if we can think about that, Ray, I think that would be great.
Yeah, I think the consultant was a little holding back because of the changes we made to the project description. For example, we want to have the library outpost, and we wanted to have certain other types of activities listed in the project description, and they wanted to make sure that we have that nailed down. And they were kind of reluctant to give us a date until they're sure that this is exactly what we want to do in terms of the activities and all the facilities that we're going to incorporate into the project. So I think at this point, I'm pretty satisfied that the project description is at a point that we don't want to make any more changes to it. And I'm going to just let them know that this is it. We're not going to make any more changes to the project description. And we want to go forward as soon as possible and get the project completed with the CEQA document. So February, I think, is a good month in 2024 to shoot for. Everything.
End of February.
Correct.
Deadlines are good.
Yes, I think it's time to just, I won't even say deadline. I'll say a target though. And so we can really start thinking about the fact that we need to get this done and turned in. So,
And
that'd be great.
if the target's missed, deadlines.
Okay. Any other questions for Ray? Thank you, Ray. It's great to hear of the progress, and I agree with the sentiment of the folks who looked at the renderings. That was my thought, Tony. I just noticed that we have some of the renderings up on the wall.
Yes.
And all of them there. Great. Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
And
People
kudos to
were
Tom Conroy.
People were very positive.
He's an element.
And nearly everybody did. They came by, they were like, oh yeah, look at this. This is great. They were all, it was very, very positive. Great.
Okay.
Yeah, those renderings are like a lifesaver. When you apply for grants and you try to, I had some applications prepared on other projects before we had the renderings. And it's very difficult to try to explain what the final project is going to look like just by a description. Those renderings are absolutely a must for these grant applications. I mean, you show them the renderings and immediately you get like 50% buy-off on the project before you even explain the cost, the funding, et cetera, or the timetable or the CEQA. The rendering does 50% of the job.
Yeah, especially the way that they were able to superimpose them on the drone pictures and so on, so that you see all of the topography around them. I think they're just great.
Yeah. Tom Conroy, our landscape architect, he's like an artist. I only, we met and then a few, informational input into the direction. And then he comes up with this, brilliant visualization of the project. And he's done it for my other projects and he's always been brilliant.
Great.
You made a good choice all those years ago.
5 years ago. Thank you, Ray.
Thanks.
My
I
pleasure.
hope we have just a couple other notes.
Yeah, just a couple quick updates. I don't know if you've seen, but the skate ramp has been resurfaced. They finished that up. And there was, as soon as the fence came down, there was somebody out there and it was wet and he was on it anyway. So I think that's going to be great. And we've actually been making a point of posting on Instagram and Nextdoor and places like that to let people know that the ramp has reopened. We did complete the fall mowing of the property as well over there for Granada Community Park. So we touched base with RCD and determined that it was definitely a good time to do it. So that's done and it's great now that the rain has started. I'm glad that that's taken care of. I did a little historical research and did determine that about a year ago, Delia got an exemption for a coastal development permit in order to put no parking signs, overnight parking signs. So now that I've found that, we are working with someone to go ahead and get those installed. So we'll have 2 more signs going up saying that there's no overnight parking and referring it directly to what's in our ordinance. There are other signs up already that say that overnight parking is prohibited, but they've been covered in a lot of stickers. So we're actually considering ordering a sticker that we can put over the ones that are already there. And we'll just keep stickering it. And then when it gets covered again, we can sticker it again. So
Good idea.
that's actually the plan. And
Yeah.
the same person who's going to do the installation of the 2 new signs, he's also going to straighten those poles out a little bit. So, we're going to keep it sort of as is, but just clean it up and make it a little more prominent. There were a couple of days there where there were some RVs parked that had been there multiple days, and we've gone down, we tagged them, we called the sheriffs, we did everything we could, and then finally, just one morning, everyone was gone. So that was actually the morning that the skate ramp reopened, and so it just looked so pristine out there. There were no vehicles in the entire driveway or parking lot, and there was just one skater out there. So that's great. We're moving forward with all that.
Can I just ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Do we have a policy explicitly forbidding these paving contractors from setting up their equipment there, because they keep doing it? And I know you guys go after them. Nora's really good. She knows who to call, but they set up they have their tanks dripping into the parking lot potentially. They have piles of gravel, and it's, they don't have the right to set up there.
Don't know that we have a policy. We've talked about this at length in the past, obviously, because we have to differentiate between somewhere between a car and a asphalt dripping, whatever is a reasonable
Commercial
accommodation, right? And I don't know how we do that, because we wrestled with that, like even with the RVs and whatnot. Now one is polluting, so that's might be a different animal.
I mean, they put piles of gravel there,
Well, yeah, it's a staging area when it shouldn't be a staging
Right.
area.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, can we pass something that says no staging areas?
Yeah, I don't see why not. And,
The challenge, I think, is the enforcement, and the same stands with the RVs. We don't, even though we have an ordinance that says there's no overnight parking, we don't have anything that allows us to enforce that other than calling a sheriff. If we wanted to go down the road of figuring out an enforcement method that might be fining, but then you're looking at, okay, we can ticket them. We could say now you owe $300, but then we're looking at legal fees involved with actually taking that to court if they don't pay. So, I don't know how far we want to take it.
But those are commercial entities. That's
Right. And so
different, it seems to me, that you could say that commercial agencies can't use the site without permission.
well, there's two issues really. The dumping's a separate issue, and I'm thinking out loud, no dumping signs and things like that. Which,
Well, they dump it to take it away.
I understand that, but it's still dumping,
It's dumping.
right? At some point.
They don't leave some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there actually are, I believe, some of the signs that are down there saying
no
dumping.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just still because I don't like it all of a sudden, I don't know. I think it's the same paving contractors who are doing these projects, but maybe they have different ones because they keep setting up. There's been 3 times.
Well, they are definitely done.
Are they?
All the
Okay.
paving is completed at this point. The challenge is that, I believe it was a PG&E project originally, and then there's a subcontractor, and then there's another subcontractor. And so finding the correct person at the top to make sure that they inform them where they can and can't be, that's the other challenge. I mean, that same group was down on the frontage road by Farmer John's pumpkin patch. After we told them to get out again, they went down there and they had their gravel dumped on the frontage road. I thought, well, at least it's somebody else's problem now, but it's a challenge, and they have been very quick to pack up and get out of the way once we went down and told them. But, it's not like they're asking for permission and then doing it. They just show up. So other than asking them to leave, I'm not sure what else we can do.
All right. Well, thank you.
If it's a county issued contract.
That was PG&E, the last one.
Yeah.
PG&E.
Because we checked with the county to see if they were overseeing the work, and they were not.
Yeah, because generally in the bid documents, they have to stipulate use it for 40 years. And they're just going to keep using it, right?
Yeah, and the county does it like at the top of Balboa.
At the top of the Rio.
Yeah,
the medians.
Yeah, they have the medians, but these other companies, it looks like a good place.
Right. Well, and again, they've used it for years and years and years.
Yeah.
They even offered to spread the gravel out and fill the potholes for it if we wanted. And I said, no, don't do anything that's going to change what we have here because that'll open up a whole host of problems.
Description again.
Exactly.
So should we consider an ordinance? They're so fun to do.
And like I said, we've gone down this path and you've been along that ride, right? So we have to talk to Bill and Antoinette because there's a lot of issues.
Yeah.
And again, it's the enforcement that becomes the bigger issue. We can write any ordinances as we want, but if we don't have a way to enforce it.
Yeah, for years, the sheriff wouldn't even ticket them. So this is a new thing, so.
Well, and if they're parked on the roadside, they can be tagged after 3 days as an abandoned vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people have done that up in the internal streets to just get people who leave their boats or their whatever on the sidewalk. And the sheriff does come and deal with that.
And the sheriff will. I mean, that's where we kind of hit that point. There were a couple of RVs that had been there for over 3 days. And when I told them that, then they went through and I don't think he ticketed, but he definitely told them they needed to move on.
Yeah. Well, great. That's really good. Thank you.
Sure. Anything else?
Just a couple other really quick things. We don't have any programming coming up, but I just wanted to remind everybody about the SAM Open House that's coming up on November 18th from 10 to 2. And then also the Harbor District is going to do the boat lighting. They haven't done it for a couple of years, and that will be on Saturday, December 9th from 6 to 8 p.m. Cool. And it's really a lovely thing. If you haven't seen it, it's quite nice.
We have a comment from public from Fran. Fran, you can go ahead and unmute.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Something Ray said perked me up that when he said we're not making any more changes or anything. So then I thought, I realize it's been almost 10 years since we changed from the sanitary district to the community services district, and we still can't even play on that park area. And I was thinking, now that the rainy season is starting, if we have another rainy season this year, I hope no flooding, but I hope we have enough rain. I was thinking, why not get some kind of seed, green, grass seed that doesn't. They have new seeding now that's supposed to last year round or needs very little care. I know nobody wants to have to water grass and that kind of thing, but there's some kind of seed to spread out on the park so that maybe by spring people can use it. At least do that much. Make the green area that's supposed to be green and where people can picnic and everything, at least do that much in the meantime before everything else gets developed, and it can all be developed around that. So that was one thing. And the other thing I was thinking about, the community center that I suggested last month, to reinforce it, to make it a double as a shelter for the community. I hope that can still be considered to reinforce.
Fran, actually, I've had conversations with Dave Cosgrave, who's our emergency operations coordinator from the county, about using it as a future respite center that he was very excited about, and asked if they could put a ham radio antenna, which is not a big deal. But that's also a place where the county is interested in allocating some Measure K funds for emergency services. So offering it as a shelter or respite center may qualify us for some additional grant money as well, but it's a great idea. And
that's great.
There's no really other public use place in the unincorporated area that could serve that purpose.
Right.
That's great.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Fran.
So what about the green? think you could do that? Spread some seed around and make it so that kids can play on it and people
I'm
can
not sure it's smooth enough to do that. If you walk across it, it's a trip hazard everywhere. But I also
We're just going to run into Coastal Commission CEQA.
I think we have to wait till we have permits.
Is that a project?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll call
Glad I
Ray
didn't hear that.
with description. Yeah.
Ray's gone. He's like, too late. I'm on.
Yeah. Ray is gone, but I think that actually would require permits.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm actually here. Sorry.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, that's not an easy task to do, but like you said, it's not a smooth surface, and I'm concerned about the smoothness and the ability to actually make it feasible for the play area. But I could certainly discuss that with the project team and see what we can do.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Sure.
Any other comments on Parks and Rec?
Is there anything we could do for a holiday event? I always thought it would be fun to have some fun. Somebody come to lead, have some music and walk around the streets in holiday season.
Like caroling or?
Yeah. I mean, non holiday specific holiday music. It would be nice. Maybe next year. But I do think it would be fun to have some kind of community event in Palos Verdes where I used to live. There was some people who always used to get up on the hillsides with trumpets, and there was always a concert that everyone looked forward to every year. Just something that would be fun. If someone in the community that's interested in it, we'd be interested in some kind of if we could help support something that would happen on the Strip or somewhere that would be kind of an El Granada celebration for the holidays.
I wonder if we could do something at the skate ramp, maybe a Santa Claus on a skateboard
Or something.
And,
I'd be happy
you know,
to help
having
work
some
on that.
sort
I
of-
think it would be fun to do some kind of holiday event.
Well, I like the idea of being known for something because I don't think it's fair that Montero gets to be known for Halloween and we don't have anything like everyone goes to Montero for Halloween, but we don't do.
Director Grant?
I have a suggestion for Ray. Are you still on, Ray?
Yes.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Great. I noticed that by behind the El Granada Elementary to the south of it, they've done a lot of fuel reduction. I mean, a lot. And there's over 100 huge eucalyptus trunks out there. And I wonder if we could use those instead of the wooden fences, because they would do two things. First, they would stop Caltrans seeds from coming over into our new restored site.
Mhm.
And secondly, they give people places to sit because kids love to play on those, adults love to hang out on them, and they'd be free. And San Mateo County might even flip us some money to use. Just a suggestion.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting suggestion. So we would have to basically store that on the site until we're ready for the project then.
Well, they're storing them right now. They're just sitting there. So they could just continue storing them until we're ready.
Yeah. Let me take a look at them.
Okay.
Let me go take a look at them.
At the top of Santiago, it's either County Parks or Public Works that did the work.
Okay. These are trunks, eucalyptus trunks.
There must have been 50 trees that came down in the big January storm that they've been cleaning up and clearing.
Yeah, they're continuing. They're going to clear the whole area.
Understood.
So done. Some came down, but most of these were still standing. They're just going through and clear cutting them.
Okay. All right. I'll discuss that with Tom Conroy, our landscape architect,
Okay.
and
Thank
see
you.
if we can do something. Thank you.
Any other Parks and Rec comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 3, consideration of amendment to district bylaws regarding check signatory rules. It's just so that 2 board members could sign checks if the assistant general manager or general manager is not available to be the second signatory.
Yeah, there's two main issues. That's and the other one is approval to sign checks for either Hope or myself under $1,000. Just becomes problematic and a little clumsy, and there's a lot of little checks that your district's lucky because everyone kind of lives within a stone's throw here, but most other districts have some kind of cap, $1,000, $5,000, because the directors don't live quite as close by. So we've drafted this policy to allow for, Hope's not here and I'm not up, allow for two of you to sign district checks if you can't get one of us. And then the second thing is to write checks under $1,000.
Would we still see the ones under $1,000 on the warrants
You'll
list?
see everything. Yeah. So that's just a straight printout from QuickBooks.
The other,
I proposed just a clarification on that last one. I mean, the idea wouldn't be that all checks under $1,000 would be routinely signed. Just, there's no language in what you're proposing. I sent you an email just saying, as in a case of urgency or a deadline.
It says here, this is intended to address payments to be made with some urgency.
It doesn't
In the
say that
memo,
in the actual
In
policy.
the actual policy. Got it.
So I just thought clarifying that. I'm fine with that, with the whole thing. It seems as if,
Under number 4, maybe.
yeah, just add one phrase in there that says in case of urgency or.
Yeah, I mean, the main reason this comes up is just, often we'll finish our meeting, everyone's signed, and then tomorrow we'll get the bill for the credit card. And so, and often Nancy will then, I'll call on someone to come over. And so it's really just to try and prevent from having to do that.
But we don't like doing it.
Yeah, but most of this, we have 2 signature checks stop from fraud, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's why under $1,000,
I think it's reasonable. We don't have that many of them. The warrants still, even including them, are still only take a page. So it's not that many.
Yeah, even right now, the ones that happen outside of warrants, those are always the first ones listed on the warrants page. Those are the ones that you come in and sign after the fact. So they would still show up in the exact same way.
So are you proposing that all checks under $1,000 be just signed by one?
No, not at all. We
Well,
would
then
still,
is there a problem with just adding that phrase?
no.
Okay, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with having you sign checks for, and there's an issue. And I just like to.
Under number 4, right? You're saying?
Yeah.
I talked to Delia about this issue once, and our checks have 2 signature lines. She said she didn't think the bank cared at all how many or who it was, and they never looked at anything that's scribbled there. But under number 4, there would be only one signature. Is it possible that our bank or a recipient would say, oh, this is not going to be valid because it doesn't have 2 signatures?
I don't think so. I reached out to the bank and they didn't respond. I asked if there was a requirement on their part that it have 2 signatures. And based on what you were saying about Delia, I kind of got the same impression that in the past there were checks that were issued before with only one signature.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but I can double check with our bank and just make sure. But I don't think that there's any issue for them if there's only one signature.
Good. Okay. Thanks.
And our bank, for what it's worth down south, it's the same thing. We have 2 signatures, but they only care about one. So
Yeah.
I think we're doing it more from an internal standpoint.
We have any other comments or public comments on this item? Seeing none, do we have a motion? Since you had the edit, do you want to make a motion, Barbara?
Sure, I move that we authorize the amendment to the district bylaws regarding check signatory rules with the amendment that item 4 will add a phrase that in case of is applicable in cases of urgency, not emergency, just urgency.
Seconded.
Moved by Director Dye, seconded by Director Randall. Any other comments? Seeing none, we have a roll call.
Director Grant?
Yes.
Director Dye?
Aye.
Director Clark?
Aye.
Director Randall?
Yes.
President Marsh?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, move to item 4, consideration of district investment policy and alternatives for district funds investments.
So basically what I've done here, we discussed in past meetings a little bit about the different investment vehicles that are available to the district. And we've historically put our money in LAIF, but there are other options to utilize. And I spelled out two of them in here, CalTrust and CAMP. Both of those are earning 5.57% and 5.67%. The major difference between them and LAIF is LAIF has most of their money invested in U.S. Treasuries, and they bought them a year and a half ago, and when they were earning 1%. Now, Treasuries are paying 5%, and CAMP and CalTrust aren't as heavily invested in that, and that's why they're getting a greater return. So what this investment policy does, it cleaned up a little bit of the language, but I also, Bill Parkin's suggestion made that on page 13, where authorized investments, it used to list a whole bunch of investments, and Bill just said, why don't you just reference the government code, which stipulates what investments you can do, local banks, JPAs, that kind of stuff, which all of these other investment options are. So that cleaned up that language, and I would recommend to the board that we take the money that is now currently in LAIF and put it into either CAMP or CalTrust. I've got a district down south. Each one's in CAMP, one's in CalTrust, just to make our life difficult.
Well,
I think CalTrust is a little more, it's a little more user friendly, so I'd probably lean toward that, but they're both getting the same rate. And what we would do, just keep an eye on it, and every month you all see a report on it. And, if they switch, LAIF started earning more, we put the money in LAIF.
The difference between LAIF and those right now on our reserve, which is about 3 million, would be $60,000 a year,
Right.
just for putting your money in a different safe place.
Yeah, it's substantial.
no, I'm happy to make this change. I think it's a really good idea. I'm happy to have you guys figure out where to move it. I will say that the auditors today, I was at the SAM Finance Committee, and the auditors have moved, a lot of their districts have moved to something called CA Class, CLASS.
Yes.
And so
that's another JPA.
I would just maybe add that to the list to see if it's a potential, but I don't want to get in the middle of that. If you guys, I figure you guys can make the decision of where to move it. But as a board, we'll support moving it.
Yeah.
I think that's our support moving it, and you pick the place.
Yeah, we'll chase return, obviously. And by definition, both of them have safety and liquidity as their two main tenants.
Yeah.
Yield is third, as I pointed out in the policy.
Right.
I tried to do some research on this, on these other two, and then on LAIF. And like historically, some of these haven't been in existence very long, but historically, have they always run higher than LAIF? And well, you know what it's like, I'm sure, to try to use the state-run websites. And trying to find out history just boggled me. So I can't really speak to it, but we have the current example only, and I'm certainly willing to go with that. But I did find that the other two that were named, they do have in their small print that you could lose principal.
Well, you can lose principal with everything.
Well, I searched LAIF a lot, and I never saw that same statement that you could. There could be loss of principal at LAIF, but it's got to be in there somewhere, because it's just got to be
By definition, right?
Yeah.
But I think we have a different graph in my other districts, and it shows what the investments are. And like I said, LAIF has 65% of it in treasuries, but the others, theoretically, knock wood, we will never lose money in treasuries, but we have other issues to worry about.
Yeah.
But, that other 35% is still. There's always risk somewhere.
Yeah. So, I endorse this, and Barbara, you came up with a third alternative. So,
yeah, we'll look at everything. I've already looked at that one as well.
Yeah.
okay.
I'm not saying you have to do it.
Yeah,
but these auditors seem to have their act together, and they were recommending that one. So
Yeah.
that was
Okay.
worth passing.
All right.
Do you need a motion to?
Yes, we do. To
I
approve the
ask for-
district investment policy.
Comment first.
Yeah.
Any other comment, including public comment? Seeing none, now, go ahead and make your motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the district investment policy and direct staff to open new accounts as necessary and transfer some reserves from LAIF to any new investment to any suitable investment alternative.
Suitable meaning higher yield.
Yes.
Yes.
And safe and.
Any appropriate investment. There you go. How about that?
I'll second.
Director Dye moves, Director Clark seconds. Any further comment from the board? Seeing none, can we have a roll call?
Director Grant,
Yes.
Director Dye,
Aye.
Director Clark,
Aye.
Director Randall. Yes. President Marsh.
Aye. Carries. Thank you. And moving on to item 5, the engineer's report. Any questions or comments on the engineer's report?
I have a question. What is going on with the Quail Point Harbor sewage meter? What is that meter for? That measures how much flow they put into our system?
Yes,
Yes.
simply put.
Because they're a commercial customer.
Yeah, they've got that unique thing because they use a lot of water, but it goes into the ocean when they do boat wash down and whatever wash down. It wouldn't be fair to base their usage on water usage, which we do for other commercial customers.
Yeah.
So they're unique in that regard. So that's why we have a little pump with a meter in it.
And so the issue is that they've got a new meter and we haven't had a chance to review it or
Okay.
So John Rayner and I went over I wouldn't say shortly after they installed it, when they were getting ready to get their bill for last year's usage, which was based on water usage again, they said, oh, but we did install a meter. So we went over to take a look at the meter. They had never given us an initial read on that meter, though, so we had nothing to base it on. So we did get an initial read starting in month, and they are sending me a read every month now so that I can monitor that. And then just right now, I'm kind of just looking for a pattern to sort of see where the usage is. I know that John would still like to see a little more detail from the company that installed the meter about the way it was installed. He was not particularly happy with the way it was installed and the fact that the meter itself is down in the sort of damp areas as well as the transmitter. And he's concerned that it might corrode because of the sort of atmosphere of it. So he's looking for a little more detail on that, and we can get that. But in the meantime, we are getting a monthly meter read from them. So
That's really
hopefully,
helpful. Thank you for the additional information. Yeah.
Does this
It's a good question.
include all the private businesses that lease the property there? It all comes to one meter.
it does.
Yeah.
Mhm. Except for one of the boat ramps who they already have their own meter because they're one of the main ones rinsing, and so they were really getting hit with a pretty high bill. So they did install a meter, and that one has been included in the previous years.
Thank you.
And this should save them substantial money. I mean, we've been chasing them. We chased them for 5 years and then we gave up. So, and I think the new guy looked at it and said, hey, we need a meter. So that's good. The new GM.
And we don't have the details on the project 3 for the CIP yet, but that's coming.
Oh, I emailed John Rayner about that. Now I have to recollect what he said. But I did ask him what the timing on that. I'll look it up. I'll send it to you, Barbara. I did email him on the timing of that.
But we don't have it.
And what's in it?
We definitely don't.
Yeah, what segments are in it and what the timeline is for the design and the bid and all that kind of stuff.
Yes. And just for the community, this is how we are replacing a lot of the older sewer lines.
Right. We have a 6-year plan, and we do 2-year segments at a time every other year.
And we're going to do those projects that were left over from the last one. So we're included in the last ones that they identified in the last go round.
Yes. And I just explained this to Hope Action. We're doing some of the 1925 pipe, year makes
Actually, it's
25.
1908.
Right. We keep 10. We don't have a 1908 in our base, but yeah.
I'm telling you, they put in the sewer lines.
I'll
in
leave it to you.
1908. Well, most of them. They had it pretty well done by the time they opened in 1910. So, and they were pretty much out of business by
1912.
1920. So,
Yeah, 1920.
yeah, they were long out of business.
When the
Anyway,
railroad went bust.
all that matters is that we are doing a really good job of replacing the old lines that need to be replaced.
Yeah.
And our system is really good.
Really tight.
Which is reflected, as Barbara pointed out to me, in the flow rates that
Which we pulled out one night to talk about.
when it rains, that the other two members of SAM, their inflow goes up a lot more than ours does.
Yeah, from base. I've noticed that too.
And I'll also point out, I'll do it now instead of when we get there, but in the SAM report, once again, there were no service calls for GCSD.
We have 12 months with no SSOs.
Right. And the one we had was teeny.
Yeah.
So,
and
you know,
Pope talks to Tony all the time. He's the lead op, and I think they're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Keeping these things clean.
But they do have issues in the other two systems that they every month there's various calls. I mean, so a lot of times it's the problem they have to call a plumber. It's not the system, but we just don't have very many. So I just think it's good. We should be proud of that.
Any other questions or comments on the engineer's report? Public? Nope. Okay, we'll move on to report on sewer authority Mid-Coast meetings.
Quick tonight. Quick tonight, right?
Yeah, the minutes looked very quiet and the Tim Costello's report looked very smooth.
Yeah.
And quiet for the month.
Well, because half of it, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. But it's still amusing reading. The meeting was really brief. We authorized another $100,000 to install the pumps that the digester mixing pumps that are sitting at the SAM plant and have been there for some time and have never been installed.
Which was double the budgeted cost.
Right. And when you look at all the CIP things, double the budget cost isn't too bad.
Actually, I just did an analysis, which I'll bring back later of ongoing costs.
Good. I'd like to see that. And SAM passed an employee educational reimbursement policy of up to $3,000 a year, not to exceed $10,000 for training and schooling that employees can take to enhance their value to SAM. And maybe, when the time comes, they move up in positions. And we approved a side letter. Well, actually, we got the response from the union that they were good with the side letter, which is going to allow another extra $350 per hour for emergency incentive pay. So, and that doesn't cover everyone who works at SAM, only people who get called out for field emergencies, which seemed entirely reasonable to everyone on the board. So, and that was it. And what was it, a 35-minute meeting?
It's really quick because FMA isn't, the two major issues before SAM right now is the Princeton Pump Station and the Montero Force Main. Since Half Moon Bay is unwilling to participate, I mean, they'll participate, but they're not willing to support anything.
They won't pay.
They won't pay. So there's really not much point in having discussions and votes on things when they're going to abstain. So we're kind of in a holding pattern until we get the lawsuit settlement. So
Now, the last time they deferred, they didn't abstain.
they abstained from the vote and then they deferred the payment.
Yeah.
So, but it's nice to have friendly, easy meetings. And the audit, I was
gets kicked down the road further.
and I was at the finance committee meeting today and the audit came through looking good.
Good. Much more timely than history. That's all on Sam?
That's all I'm saying.
Any other questions or comments on Sam?
Oh, I had another comment. The meeting went so fast that I forgot to jump in at the appropriate moment, but, and I have talked to Hope about this, that the treatment plant was seeing some foaming, inappropriate foaming.
As opposed to appropriate funding.
Yeah, and they tested for microorganisms, and actinomycetes and polysaccharide was one thing that came up, and polysaccharides also can cause those to exacerbate bulking and foaming, but it's basically an indication of excessive fog, fats, oils, and greases that get into the system. And then I noticed that in the task summary for August, that they tested the fog. They have a separate company. What is it, Mark Thomas, right? That tests for fog at 22 different places in GCSD, and nearly a third, 7 of them failed. And I talked to Hope about this, that they do indeed report that to GCSD, and they name who didn't pass. So we have an opportunity to let those entities know that, ultimately we're their permitters, and we're watching them. They have to fix this now. So,
And this is I was talking to Hope about this today as well. It's an ongoing issue with every district. The restaurants don't look at, they cook food and they serve people. They don't look at their grease traps a lot unless you remind them. So that's why we have this program in place. Yeah.
Remind. And I asked to be copied on all these reports from now on, and it's not a problem. And, I actually can forward to you guys if you want the list of who failed and so forth. So I think it's helpful to know that.
yeah, Hope already had that. And
Oh, yeah, he said it sent to you, but I asked him to send it to me because this is, I've been kind
he
of.
did give it to me. It's some of the, I guess I won't use the word culprits, but it's some of the familiar names. Put it that way.
The usual suspects.
The usual suspects. Yeah.
I would like to see the list.
They got tested.
I'll send it to you, Director Grant.
Thank you, Hope.
Yeah, maybe you just copy
You send
everybody
it
on
to
it.
something
Okay,
else.
it's interesting to see on Hidalgo. I have one more thing, which is it has come to my attention recently, to our attention, that actually was in the minutes, and I was surprised by it. And anyway, in August, the insurance company denied all of Sam's claims for the damage from the storms. They denied it verbally on the basis that floods are not covered. And that's true. We know that, generally they are not. They have, during this time since then, they have been challenging that, appealing that decision. They have not received it in writing. But in the meantime, because they had this verbal, they've been moving forward with FEMA, and they have about $500,000 already obligated, and they have verbal commitments for FEMA that they will cover more. FEMA only covers, I think, 80% of any loss. So it seems to me pretty clear that the insurance company is not going to cover a lot of that. In the meantime, they submitted to the insurance company a problem in the previous year where the bus duct failed, and which I've never really understood exactly what the bus duct is, but anyway, which cost a lot of money. It was a big emergency, and they are getting like several $100,000 in reimbursement for that. And in fact, that came up with the audit question of how to handle the accounting for that, since it was a couple of years ago.
Period.
But I think it is worth noting that the insurance company denied it, and evidently they are in the process of trying to get flood insurance, which seems like a logical thing to have when you're right near a stream that can overflow, particularly when there's that whole issue of the dam upstream, which if they release water, really increases the flow. And it's good news that FEMA is being so positive about reimbursing costs.
And I just to make sure I understood, it seems that FEMA may reimburse 80% of the cost. The insurance company likely will not pick up the other 20% because it's flood related.
No, insurance would have been the first to go to fund.
Oh, and FEMA would cover, but insurance didn't.
But they will not cover the entire amount.
Okay. So
Is this new news?
we did hear before that the insurance company denied it.
Yeah, evidently it was presented to us because the first time I saw it was in the minutes of the August Finance Committee meeting. And I'm like, wait, what? I don't remember this. Well, we were told essentially that they had denied it verbally, but they were appealing, and this was part of the process, and you always have to do it. So it wasn't like a full final denial.
Right.
But now it looks as if it was pretty much, and they are now expecting official denial letters, which they need to go to FEMA.
It just seems interesting because when I sat in at that meeting, it was positioned as, well, we're expecting insurance, we're expecting FEMA.
Yeah.
And that was like a month ago.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, and at a finance committee meeting too. That's a big issue. I think the whole board would hear.
Yeah. So
I have to say I was astonished and chagrined to find out that a treatment plant that is between a natural creek and an artificial water course, they're on each side of
And the ocean on the other side.
and they don't have flood insurance.
well, now they're trying to get some. They still don't have any. They
Yeah,
still don't have it.
yeah.
So somehow you have to go through
pretty
some
crazy.
government thing to get flood insurance for a government agency, and it's complicated. So I'll keep you posted on that. But the good news is they evidently did a very good job of writing up the applications for FEMA. You know, I think for both, but that FEMA was complimentary about the quality of the applications and has been very proactive about approving as much reimbursement as they can.
Good. Any other questions on Sam?
Just one more note on that, which is, of course, we have to pay 20% of what doesn't cover it. So this is really another something we need to be watching for our financials.
Right. I think that were they waiting to see what got covered because we've topped up the emergency fund and getting that money from FEMA will reimburse what was used out of the emergency reserve.
Or
So it's
that will
complicated.
fill the gap.
Or it will fill the gap.
20% that isn't going to be covered by FEMA.
Got it.
it's a-
17.0.
I don't expect to get it back.
Well, the other piece that's interesting is these expenses were in the last facility. So it gets tricky.
It gets tricky.
But the new accountants for Sam seemed to be good. And it was good to make the change, I think.
Any other comments or questions from board or public on the SAM report? Seeing none, we'll move to the consent agenda, which includes number 7, October 18th, special meeting minutes. Number 8, October 19th, regular meeting minutes. Number 9, November 2023 warrants. Number 10, September 2023 financial statements. Number 11, assessment district distribution. Number 4-23/24. Would anybody like to pull anything from the consent
I'd
agenda?
like to ask a question about that comes out of something I see on the warrants,
Go ahead.
because I don't know enough about this, and I hope our general manager does. I noticed that we did the 2024 CASA, that's the Association of Sewer Agencies, CASA membership renewal for 2024, and it was $980. Sam did that. It was over $14,000. And And the explanation that I got at the SAM meeting didn't make any sense to me. They said that was for 2 individuals for the whole fiscal year.
No, they said it was for half in one fiscal year and half in the other. So
It's half of the CASA fiscal year. It's not the same as SAM's. So they had to cover all of 2024, which was half of the CASA's fiscal year, and then also the next half of 2024, which is a different fiscal year at CASA. So anyway,
So it's
Doesn't
a
that-
total $14,000 a year, one way or the other.
yeah, it's $14,000 a year, and that seems amazingly high to me.
Seems high to me, and I don't know exactly how CASA does it, but a lot of them base it on your treatment plant size. So if you got a bigger treatment plant, the thought is you have more customers to spread out the costs and whatnot. And I would imagine CASA does that.
Maybe ours.
I
does
look at
too.
that and I just go, but you know, if for all we know, we belong to CASA. Half of Bay does and Montera does, and then why would Sam at that point in time? You know, and I bet, you know, I'd have to look at their warrants to see who else they belong to, because I kind of remember their line item for memberships and this kind of thing is pretty big at Sam, as I remember.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So that'd be a good question to ask them who we belong to and why.
And if any of it is redundant with the member agencies.
Member agencies, right.
So, are you going to ask that?
I certainly will.
Good, because yeah, like I said, the explanation that I got was incomprehensible to me, basically. All right, thank you. Let's.
wait, I have one question.
Okay.
What is Peninsula Municipal Engineering for 6,800?
The Parks and Rec.
That's Ray Rosati.
Oh, okay.
I think. Let me make sure I'm correct.
It is.
Yeah. It's not.
Any other questions? We have a motion.
I will move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second. Clark and Randall. Any further comment? Seeing none, we have a roll call.
Director Grant,
Yes.
Director Dye,
Aye.
Director Clark,
Aye.
Director Randall,
Yes.
President Marsh.
Aye.
Consent agenda passes.
Okay, moving on to item 12, committee reports on seminars, conferences, or committee meetings. Oh, it was last month that you went to.
I did, but I think I was going to talk about that in the administrative report. Yeah.
Okay, the reports, information calendar, attorney's report,
No
Anything
report,
to
Madam
report?
President.
no report. General manager's report,
Nothing further.
administrative staff report.
So yes, I did attend the CSDA Secretary Board Clerk Conference in Seaside, California, down near Monterey. It's a 2-day conference. It's really valuable as far as just sort of the more day-to-day operations for the as a secretary for the board. It was, I don't know, I can give a full written out report, but it was just last week when I went, and then we went into the holiday weekend. So I haven't had a chance to do a written report. Now I'm going to go back and read my various notes and so forth. But it was an excellent experience. I'm pretty sure I saw the Harbor District secretary there as well, but she was across the room. They broke it into first timers. And there were about 180 of us in that group. And then there were another 200 or so in the other group for repeat people. But it was a really great overview of Brown Act and conflict of interest and various things like that. So it was excellent. I also just wanted to follow up with the conversation that I had with Director Clark earlier in the week. We had talked about with the fog issue and also using that opportunity to reach out to the community about fog in general. And since we're coming into Thanksgiving, we did a couple of quick posts to Instagram and Nextdoor We have put the grease bags out at the post office and the hardware store. And we also have them here. So if anyone from the public wants to come in and get a grease bag before they start their Thanksgiving preparations, they can come in and do that to try and keep some of that out of our system.
You put them at the post office and here and where?
And at the hardware store.
Hardware store.
Yeah, people have to remember that the first place they clogs up is their own pipes.
It's happened to me on a Thanksgiving. It's not a great situation.
You think Spanglers would?
Oh, we can certainly ask. That's a great idea. Yeah, I will follow up with them tomorrow.
Okay. Anything else? Any other questions for Hope? Seeing none, last time is future agenda items, and I just noted for future closed session, the real estate opportunity that Mr. Carey brought in public comment, and the next the reiteration of the compensation ordinance, the revision. Anything else for future items? Seeing none. Going once, going twice. We are adjourned. 8:47. Thanks.